good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find some of this weird, wacky, wonderful afternoon of ours, and welcome to the exciting Sun Stars in Dublin. Stefanos finds himself outside of a large, rather well appointed building just outside Trinity College's main campus. He's led to understand that the Griffith building is it is the Hermetic Chantry in Dublin. At one point, more than likely during the Edwardian period, it was a series of dorms and dormitories devoted to the college's students. However, now, at least according to the sign outside, this has been converted into living quarters and reading rooms. So he will have been shown this a number of days ago by Magistrate Joffre, and so on and so forth.
He's probably very impressed by the chantry because, Hermetic chantries tend to be fairly impressive on the inside. Also, usually somewhat larger, but that's neither here nor there. Does he have a place either to stay there if he wants, or he's usually going to stay in his forge, I would imagine, but do they
I was going to say, well, you don't want to live in the chantry, so probably not.
Okay. Does he have a place where he can go to find D'Onofrio?
She tends to hang around there when she's not doing other duties.
Not severing the heads of hit marks. Gotcha. He'll probably have let her know, I would assume, because he's been sitting on these reports for a while, he probably would have sent her a message at some point like, hey, if you get time in the next week, I need to, give you a report. Some kind of important stuff came up. And that was probably before the really important stuff came up. So can we just say maybe she said, tonight's a good night, catch me?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Where would he find her then? Just somewhere in the chantry? Library? Something? Too much flammable stuff there.
The chantry is actually not that big. It's not much bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. So, it is entirely theoretical that she is in. It's as I said, it used to be a series of dormitories, so it's got about 25, 30 rooms in it. So she'd be pretty easy to find. You could just ask the house attendant if she's currently if she's currently there.
Okay. He'll head in and do just that. Just, is it a person or a construct?
It's a person. His name's Jeeves.
Ah, classic. Good evening. Is Magistrate D'Onofrio in?
At which point you will hear a long line of swearing, followed by a person being forcibly ejected from the room just to your left. As you enter, there's a large sweeping staircase that goes up, a corridor beside the staircase leading to a door, and two doors leading off, one door leading off right, one door leading off left. The person is bodily thrown through the left-hand door.
Never mind. Okay, that told me where I'm going. And he'll go towards the door, but before he goes into the firing line, just count 1, 2, 3.
Fireball.
Yeah, exactly. Just wait. And he waits until he can get a solid 5 count without fire, and then peeks his head around the corner.
You'll see D'Onofrio standing in the middle of a room. The poor unfortunate sod who she threw was one of the custodes of the chantry proper. Her hand is shaking in the white glove as she has a piece of paper in her hands.
Not one of mine, I assume.
No.
Oh, I've still got those with me. Good. He's just going to knock on the door because otherwise he could get in trouble for just staring.
I'm trying to remember what the princesses call their masters. I think it's Mathras or Patras.
It's Mater if according to Nathan, who I'm gonna hope knows more than I do about this. Mater if it's female, Pater if it's male. It's like the old.
Yeah, so you would call her Mater in that case because You're still her apprentice.
Yes.
You will see the piece of paper incinerate in her hands. Fucking children.
That wasn't by chance the news about the Archbishop, was it?
Yes, it fucking was.
Before I give you any more information, could you fireproof me?
Just get in here, Stephanos.
He's going to walk in.
Fuck. You'll see her. She picks up a bottle of whiskey, and she pours it into a glass, but she just keeps pouring until it's practically overflowing from the crystal glass.
Uh-huh.
Oh, fuck! Right. Fuck! Idiot fucking children!
You don't know the half of it.
Alright. You haven't known me very long. I'm going to let you know something. If in the event this vein, and she points to her forehead, is throbbing to the point where I'm about to have an aneurysm. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What? What's wrong?
Okay, so I got a couple of reports. I'll summarize for you. But
she throws herself into an armchair. She kind of hikes her leg up over the side of the armchair. She kind of glugs down the whiskey.
He's going to stand next to a very large and sturdy chair that he could hide behind if he needs to. It might protect him from one blast. Probably
These
not.
are good life choices.
Also, the desk is nearby. That's probably a better choice.
You're in kind of a large, well-appointed sitting room or drawing room kind of area where there are a number of very nice, very, very upholstered couches and seats, and a large fire crackling in the hearth.
Perfect. Wait, make sure I'm not too close to the fire, because that's another way forces work. Shit. All right. So if you remember before the scene started, I mentioned we could just hand wave that there are essentially color codes or seals for different reports and their general importance.
Yeah. She'll kind of point, as she sees you have files, she'll just kind of casually point at the coffee table.
He'll start setting them down. The first one, whatever we call them, it's not too important. This is like a standard report. Second one, he puts down, has like higher priority. Third one, what's the highest priority he could possibly have? Because that's what it is. And they're in sequence. And he just points at it and goes, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Or actually, that would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I believe. Because Saturday, roughly, was the Leviathan, I guess. Meh, time wibbly-wobbly.
Right, so, on a side note, well done on your work. The Etherites are still singing your praise.
That would be Saturday. He points to the low priority message.
Interesting when you have an invasion of a technocratic ship being considering low priority.
Yes, that should give you a standard. So I'll go over that one first. That's the easy one. All the details are in the file. The only important thing, we didn't manage to save all those souls. I do not know all the details of what happened in the other team. My team went to the engine room. They went to the computer core. Don't know what happened. But the quote-unquote ephemera core, which I think was a euphemism in technocrat jargon for 1,500-something souls, was shunted into the premium core of the ship.
That's one big phylactery, Jim.
Yes, it gave it quite a power boost, which probably helped them commandeer the ship. I do not know if this was unintentional or intentional. I can't imagine Daniela would have chosen that, but anyways. Moving on. The only thing of note, which I am somewhat aggrieved on, is we did encounter a single progenitor who was in stasis in the med bay of the ship. Some sort of virus had run loose through the ship. Many of the crew were infected. They looked like zombies. They apparently transmitted the disease through bites. Yuki was affected. We could not cure her. It was beyond our knowledge. Also beyond the progenitor's knowledge, because when we thawed her out for questioning, she took a look at the disease after very little convincing and said promptly it had mutated. This was not what it was designed for, yada yada. However, she did assist us in putting Yuki into stasis using the machine she had just left, since that would slow the process or stop it until such time that she could help cure it. She actually was... The only reason she was cooperative, I believe, was because she was apparently marked for deletion. She was as running from the Union, and, well, we were the nearest people that could help her possibly survive. The discussion did not go into length as to what her long-term plans were, but both I and Eliza Hoth who is leading our team, did give her our solemn words that we would protect her and keep her safe. The last I saw of her, she left with the majority of the party to head towards the bridge and convening with the other team. I stayed behind with 1 or 2 others to help get things shipshape. When they apparently succeeded in taking the bridge and getting us out of here, at some point during that process, I am told that the individual sketch of the ecstatics stabbed her in the throat in cold blood to make a point to the technocrats. So there's a source of intelligence gone, and my word broken. I am not happy about that, and I will have to fix that at some point.
But the mission, well...
The souls were lost. The ship was commandeered. We got it to Mars. It's being retrofitted. Eliza has been confirmed as its captain. Presumably, it will eventually be used against the Union, so hooray. Success on that front.
I was going to say, if you had to measure this in a scale of successes out of 100%, where would it be?
Given just as much of the mission was to save the souls, and that was a complete failure, frankly, about 60%, because the lasting impact in the war, the ship will probably have a larger impact, but the morale, losing 1,500 people, that is not a good number.
Why do the technocrats have 1,500 souls aboard a ship?
I am not sure, but there are details about that in the next file. It might have something to do with something they called Project Morpheus. I am not sure. It may be unrelated. But that, I'm getting ahead of myself. That is the essential, everything that needs to be covered in that report. He slides the, nice, tame green one out of the way. This one was when we got back to Dublin. The Etherites brought us back a couple hours later. We went to Agrabah Nights. Most of us. Some of us didn't. One thing I forgot to mention. Yuki was captured by the Union. That was that was a serious problem.
I hope that she dies as well.
Well, no. We'll get to that. She was captured apparently by the Union boarding party. They failed to commandeer the ship, but they captured her. They tried blackmailing us into surrender, and that was when Sketch murdered the progenitor. So we thought she was lost and would have to go eventually find her or something else. 5 minutes or so after we've all arrived at Agrabah Night, she walks in through the door. Now, apparently, at some point during the ship, the Union had tried to trick them with the robotic duplicate, so they were looking for that this time. And it was the genuine article by everyone's checks on every possible spectrum, I believe. Except for one slight change. She was gone less than a day. She did not remember being captured. She remembered entering the stasis tube and then waking up at a bus stop. Very suspicious. And she's 2 months pregnant.
What?
That's some serious X-Files bullshit, as I have said.
Yeah, huh?
Also, the baby has a prime signature probably stronger than yours.
I'm not drunk enough for this, am I?
No. But don't worry, we're not to the hard stuff yet.
She will pour more whiskey.
Okay, so there's, of course, people are suspicious, trying to... also, I forgot, there was an actual casualty during the mission. Win rate is missing, presumed dead, as far as I know. He has been replaced as virtual adept leader by Jinx.
Shame. I liked win rate. Continue.
Yes. So, all right. So while everyone is discussing, are you the real one? Yes, you're the real one. Hey, you're pregnant. How did that happen? Why is it 2 months advanced? Why does it have more prime energy than most of us? Then you're familiar with the bouncer at Agrabah Nights? Not human, relatively tough.
Uh-huh. He's a gin, but yes.
Came flying through the tent flap at about Mach 1.
Oh, fuck.
The figure... No. I wish. No, this was... Yes. Black aura, very powerful. Infernal. In a human body.
Oh.
walked brazenly in, and Yuki recognized it and addressed it as Faust.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
And well, let's see. She's like trying to figure out the next part. The discussion went on very briefly between them. I did not address this thing once. The creed was very clear on that, and I don't want to get strung up on charges. There's enough of that going around right now. It apparently was referring to a deal it had made with Yuki that amounted to, I don't know, this was not recent. This was apparently some months ago during some other crisis where the city was at stake. That apparently happens somewhat frequently here. Apparently she made a bargain with it to, and others were familiar with this, at least one other, Lottie was familiar with this, I am told. She made a deal. I don't know what she got out of it, but the price was that Faust would get to name her firstborn. But she was not pregnant and had no intention of becoming so, what's the harm, right?
I have one question.
Yes.
Okay. I've told you that I've mentioned House Shay to you, haven't I? I think I have.
It was on the list. I confess I do not remember any details about it.
Do you know how Shay do magic?
He's racking his brain. Should I roll Order of Hermes lore or just go with no for expediency?
Just go with no. It's kind of obscure.
Okay, he'll go, nope.
True names.
Yep, that is what was brought up later. So that.
Oh, you've got to be fucking me!
No, it started speaking in a language I'm not familiar with. It sounded very old, very strange.
She will hold up.
I think I heard one of the classrooms talking.
She will hold up a finger and she will start speaking in the same language. That's
the one.
There we go. It's called a Nokian. I will probably end up teaching it to you.
That sounds very useful. But is it like
it's
some
the first
ancient
language, the language of the oldest spirits?
I was going to ask if it was Atlantean or something like that. It sounds right.
I can teach you Atlantean as well if you'd like.
Yeah, might be useful. But anyways, he seems glad that she hasn't exploded yet, but he hasn't gotten to the bad parts. He's still like holding on to the back of the chair very carefully, ready to vault under it. All right, so he starts speaking in Enochian, I guess. I don't understand a word of it. I don't know what's going on. The English parts I got. He apparently referred to this deal, that he would have naming rights, etc., etc. And then after he finished speaking in Enochian, he said, as he was preparing to leave, something to the effect of, would you like to know when the child would be born? Yuki said yes, because apparently we're still all talking to this thing. And it said September 10th. He looks for a reaction from her on that one.
Blink, blink.
Well, we'll get to why that's a problem in a moment. At that point...
Oh, wait, hang on. Give me a sec.
Like that's she's saying that in character?
Yes, that's one of the alignment dates.
Yes, celestial convergence of all the realms higher and lower, as we were told later by Arc. I mean, we'll get to that. Yes.
Oh, fuck.
We'll get to that. So anyways, at that point, he makes a slashing motion across his throat. Apparently didn't need the body anymore and left in spirit form. There was a little confusion at that point, and people were talking about what to do, what was going on, etc., how much shit we were all in. And there were a good number of people here, by the way, so it's not like only one or two people heard this or knew about this. There's now like another half dozen something mages who know that Yuki made a deal with this thing. Yes. Lottie said that we should ask Eris. Eris was present for my awakening, so I was like, oh, that might actually be helpful. You know, talk to one of the gods. They might know something about this. She shows up very quickly, so she must have a very strong relationship with that girl. Eris shows up and begins telling people about the cosmos. Somewhat educational, actually. But she says that the celestial convergence is a time when the doorways to all the realms merge or are available or something along that line. Eris did not seem very concerned about the situation with Faust, possibly because she's a goddess of chaos and it probably amused her to no end, but also because she said Faust couldn't do that much even with this, by their standards. For us, it would be horrible. For them, it's like a cosmic blip. What's the problem from their perspective, I guess. That was my impression. But then something was mentioned. I don't know. I still, to this point, after looking over all my notes, I have no idea if there is a reason for this. People start talking about the gates of hell opening. I don't know if this was due to information someone had, who brought it up, or if this was a matter of someone just thought it would be appropriately dramatic. But this
character, how did it come up? Because I can't remember.
I don't remember. I've asked 3 people and no one remembers. It's a mystery. Whoever it was activated Arcane OC. But anyways, around this point, Eris started to get a little concerned, and she more or less did the equivalent of, this is above my pay grade, and said she'd find someone else to talk about it. And she left. Or something about that. I was still looking at my notes. Moment later, she shows up holding a sword, tosses it at Yuki, and then vanishes. And then a woman appeared, who apparently was named Gabrielle. You can guess what that was.
D'Onofrio face bombs.
So she apparently, I take it when archangels visit the ground, they don't really like to just hang around. She shunted us all into a little pocket room or something. Nice, all white, nothing in it.
It's most of, no. It's the fact. Okay, right. Student, listen to your teacher.
She's getting drunk, isn't she?
Yes. They can't come onto Earth.
Rules.
It breaks the rules.
Yes.
Yes. The only way they can physically manifest on Earth is if they are summoned with their true names, which can happen. Never do it.
Not planning on it. It sounds very bad.
Or under incredibly exact circumstances, such as, and behold, Mary, ye who art a virgin, you shall have the Son of God, kinds of moments.
By the way, would it be helpful that we now know Faust's angelic name?
His angelic name or his true name?
Angelic. Definitely not true, because I assume true names are extremely long and complicated from what I've heard.
Possible. What is his angelic name?
Azadrel.
Keep a note of that.
It's in the report. And
yes, but I'm saying I may be sending you somewhere to research that. Keep a note of that.
Of course. So, Archangel appears, minorly annoyed at the theft of her sword, but seems okay with several of the people present, begins speaking to people, and the situation is re-explained to the Archangel for now like the 3rd time. Archangel has a similar reaction to Eris at first. Again, there's not that much he can do. He can give it any name he wants, but he has to know the name. And he only knows so many names. And most likely, she thought he would strip the baby of its name and use it as a sort of a perfect host or something like that. Which would be very bad for us, but again, for cosmic standards, So, in other words, bad luck mortals. At least that was my impression, again. But, again, someone brought up the whole, what about the opening the gates of hell? Is that possible? I don't know if someone had a fetish for this or what. And she said, well, no, you see, you would have to have 2 prophesied events take place for that to happen. They are, of course, completely impossible things. Which have happened.
No. She said that in order for it to happen, they would have to, that God himself would have to, that God himself would have to sacrifice in order for the gates of hell to be open.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood that then. But I thought there were the 2 prophesied events, like
the 2 prophesied events were how he might be able to read the book.
Oh, okay. So that's not right in the report then. So just assume that's correct. It doesn't matter. You're not going to read that anyways. So he'll just rephrase and say, so he's going to explain that then. So basically, yes, for the gates of hell to open, this would have to happen. And Apparently, now you're saying so he would have had to. Evan, I'm sorry, but could you run that by me one more time? I'm trying to get this straight in
Right.
my
So,
head.
no worries. Right. The only way that Faust would be able to read the book is in the event that God's attention was focused on one place.
So where
And
did
the
the
only way
stopping time and the redemption of a Nefandi fit in?
somebody okay. The two things that she would say is it would have to happen. It would have had to happen in a moment where there was. It would have to have happened when time had lost a moment, and when time had lost a moment, and when the sinner had been redeemed. No, sorry, when the inversions had been redeemed. There we go.
So both of those didn't occur at the same moment or anything, did they?
No, but they both happened.
So essentially, those were prerequisites to it
Yeah,
reading the book.
essentially, to give you a bit of a Faust stole a single moment of time.
Which he did when time stopped, yes.
Yeah, and
And
then
then
when God's attention was entirely focused on the
on
redemption of
redeeming the irredeemable.
yes, redeeming the irredeemable. That was my exact words. He basically used that moment to read the book and steal the name.
Okay, now it makes sense. Okay, so he's going to start explaining it. He's going to say, so apparently Faust would have needed to do anything really bad, would have needed to get access to this book. He would have and to do that, he would need a moment of time that was out of existence. Time would have to stop, which it did, apparently, some months ago. So he had that. And then God's attention would have to be entirely focused on redeeming the irredeemable. All of his attention would be focused away from the book. And then Faust would use that inescapable moment or whatever to get the name he wants. So he did.
Oh, shit.
And, well, that's the point where Gabrielle started to look worried. When we informed her that those things had in fact happened. She then conjured up a book, which I'm guessing is the book of names. Book of Creation or something like that, probably. And started skimming through it really quickly. And she apparently got to a spot that she was looking for, and it wasn't there. OC, didn't she say something about the second coming?
She said yes, essentially.
The name that was stolen was the name of the second coming of Christ, basically, right?
Christ's true name upon his second coming, yes.
Okay, so yes, the name was apparently the name of the second coming. Ready to hide behind the chair now.
No, she slumps back in her chair, almost speechless.
We are now 75% through the level 2 report.
How does this get worse?
It does.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. I picked a good time to join the order, apparently. Imagine if you guys hadn't gotten a report about this. Yes. So, moving on. Let's see. So, at that point, when the Archangel apparently pieces everything together and realizes what has happened and what name that baby is going to have, tried to kill Yuki. I say tried because something else angelic stopped it. And the resulting clash dumped us right back into Agrabah Nights.
That makes sense. Once again, angels are bound by certain rules. They can't act like that. She, it, whatever, cannot kill a human. It's really complicated.
Well, it must have been desperate then, because, I mean, that is a desperate situation.
Well, I mean, let me point out something. Do you know what would have happened in the event that they had managed to strike the death blow?
I assume all the covenants would be broken and we would have hell on earth?
No. That archangel would fall.
Ooh, we do not need one of the six to fall. That would be bad. Bit of an imbalance.
There hasn't been one fall since, yes. But the thing
What
here
would
is
be the Black Report?
there's things that you have to understand. If they were willing to risk that, then oh God.
I point out we're not quite done with the level 2 report.
Oh, mother of almighty God. Okay, continue.
All right, so we get back to Agrabah Nights. We're all a little bit shell-shocked after all of this. So let's see. We're standing there talking about how crazy all of this is, trying to process what we just saw. Master Siren arrives. Normally, that's a cause for me to be happy. I like the man. He's very nice. Lets me borrow books. Very nice. He's bleeding from the eyes, mouth, and everything else on him. Stares straight at Yuki. What have you done? Collapses, and his soul starts dying. And the rest of him. He's okay.
That's because of his mother. Oh, fuck!
He is alive, thanks mostly to quick thinking by the two new arrivals, Mr. Collins. They're detailed in the report, but one's a Mr. Collins. He was using terms that I've heard used in Voodoo, and also a woman named Morgan. Very potent aura, rather like sirens in a way. No idea what her affiliation is. She had a talking raven. Rather smart. I liked the raven. They both very quickly stabilized him, while Eliza and myself contacted, which Eliza did not witness most of this. Eliza arrived when we came back to Agrabah Nights. Just for the record. Eliza and I both contacted the Archbishop. He arrived, and I believe he thought his son was going to die, but again, stabilized. And he put me on the spot. He asked me what had happened. And I believe I was very flustered, and I probably only summarized it very briefly. Demons, Faust, Yuki, Archangel, etc. I don't think he got the full import of it. He got enough. And he did a thing where he bites on his thumb. I'm told now it means he declared her anathema to church. He bit on his thumb and spit at her. It has some...
Have you never read Shakespeare, to bite your thumb at someone?
Now that you mention it, I've heard that. But Daniela said she looked it up online, and it apparently means in the Catholic Church. Nowadays, it's more of an excommunication type thing or something, but back in the day where he's probably from, it meant a hell of a lot worse. It was like, you're no longer welcome in holy places. Get out. That sort of thing.
That's honestly something I didn't know.
Neither did we, but Daniela researched it. Good for her. It's actually very interesting. But anyways, so he requested that we help him carry his son and also the dead body of the demon, the host, He wanted to give it a proper burial. Whatever its crimes may have been, he wanted to see it off properly. So we carried it down. He left. I left not long after this because there was they were recapping everything that happened in the Leviathan mission and conveniently trying to avoid telling Yuki that Sketch had murdered someone, and I got a little upset at that. I left around that point, but I'm told by Daniela I didn't miss much after that. It was mostly more people discussing what had happened, trying to come to grips with it, ideas, nothing really accomplished, just more discussing. That's the end of the second report. And you haven't burned me. I'm very happy.
I'm somewhat numb, so continue.
You'll need it. You'll need it. Part 3 concerns the letter you just incinerated, and probably led to it. Okay, so Daniela, apparently, it looks like the Archbishop was trying to watch out for her. Daniela has had some interesting run-ins recently, and all right, this may sound weird, but this was months ago. And I say this mostly because you said you're numb right now, and I think this is quite literally the lowest priority in your system right now. So I say this hesitantly. Daniela apparently came here, or I assume to the here. She said she came to the Chantry. I didn't know everyone knew where it was. But she came to the Chantry. She was having some sort of issue where her eyes were bleeding, and she had a device on her, and she wanted help, and we apparently told her to get bent, in her words. Does that ring a bell? Many months ago?
I don't believe I interacted with that situation.
She thought that you might have been there, but her memory is not fully intact. So yeah. I thought I'd mention it. She has a rather negative view as a result. Apparently, she had only been awakened for a month or so. She was given this USB drive, which supposedly had information on it, by a virtual adept in the city. No one that I recognized. And she kept it on her, did not do anything with it, and then these issues started occurring where she was bleeding from the eyes and stuff, similar things, many problems. She came here to ask about it, and we told her get bent, etc. She left, and that was that was it. She eventually learned that there was something unholy in the USB drive and destroyed it. So might want to look into that at some point. She did nothing wrong, I would stress. Daniela, I believe there is no possibility Daniela is in any way corrupt. She was just baptized, as you'll see in this report, by the Archbishop. He seemed to be very careful. The water he had was full of prime energy. I think if she'd been harboring anything, she'd be dead. Just at a guess. So she's...
Get to it, Mr.
Yes.
Archivist.
Okay, so just a quick aside there. All right, so we all arrive for the baptism for Daniela. It goes well. Yuki arrives. She wasn't invited, but she arrived. She had other business, apparently. She was intercepted by some sort of ghost spirit warden thing, but it let her in. It examined her, thought she was okay, and let her in. After the meeting, we had a discussion with the Archbishop and a acquaintance of his, a Rabbi Shmuel. You are familiar with the issues going on?
I know Rabbi Shmuel.
You are familiar with the issues going on within the choristers right now, yes?
That is an entire fucking kettle of fish I don't want to be anywhere near.
Apparently, the Archbishop was hoping that several people could assist him in some regards with this. He's apparently, or was, before, he points to the ashes of the letter, he was attempting to cover for several people, like this rabbi and their families. He's attempting to do what he can to slow things down or allow people to escape. But you see, the biggest problem is he was, even before that letter, expecting any day now to be called up before the Curia, the leaders of the chorus, apparently, on charges at best of incompetence and at worst of heresy for all the rampant infernalism that's apparently going on in our city. And he was trying to avoid this, and his only hope was that we might, this is why he took us to his office, was that we might get to the bottom of all this infernalist bullshit and solve it. That was his hope. There was some beneficial discussion briefly, but then Yuki, who was present, said she had something that might help and handed it to the Archbishop. He burst into flames.
What? She tried to kill him?
No, she seemed just as shocked as the rest of us. He burst into green flames.
Oh, shit.
He almost died, but again, quick thinking, people who know how to heal people. Also, Daniela poured holy water on him, which actually seemed to help a lot.
That's balefire, Stefan, for the record. If you ever see anything like that again, run.
Will do. I didn't get any of it on me, thankfully. They healed him. I say healed, he's intact, not bleeding and broken, but skin. Yeah. I don't know if he recovered from that, but he was recovered-ish. Someone had the bright idea to suggest that Yuki get out while the getting was good before he finished recovering. No go. The door was locked. He got up, got angry. But before he could finish getting to the bottom of things, he and the rabbi stopped moving. Time spell, apparently. I can tell that much. And by the way, the object, this is important, was a tarot card. Devil Arcana, with a single star on it. The figure who arrived looked human, except the aura was also, I believe the aura was black, right?
No.
Nope.
The aura was golden, sparkly.
Okay, he'll describe that. The aura was gold and sparkly and roughly as intense as Archangel Gabriel. And he said to call him Lucy. So I just want that to sink in for a moment. So after she's had,
I've got one more left.
You've got one more thing before we start having a run for the hills.
I'm not angry. I'm too exhausted to be angry.
All right. So, we're through most of it for what it's worth. So Lucifer, for that is apparently who it was, said that he wasn't here to make deals because he doesn't make deals like Faust, you understand. And again, I did not speak to him. I addressed my comments to other people and made it very clear, we should not be doing this. Can we please get rid of him, have him leave? Can we just do something else? Please, anything but this. He wanted to give us information to help us. Because, of course, when has that ever gone wrong? And he said that the decision had to be unanimous. All of us present had to agree to let him help, or tell us, or whatever. One of the people present, two actually, Samira and Sketch, both seemed not necessarily supportive of this, but hey, we should think about this before we blatantly refuse it. The immediate response from myself, Jinx, and the new virtual adept Glasspaw was no, hell no, and no. That seemed very reassuring, actually. After this, Yuki then said, yes.
Oh, that's not fucking helpful.
No, not really. Even Lucifer said that. Something about you don't know how to read a room, honey. Seems very much something he would say. However, since he did not get a unanimous verdict, and two of us were trying to pick apart the little thing he had put on the Archbishop, I don't think it would have probably taken us a day. That thing was thick. But either way...
I mean, when you're literally the incarnation of people's perceptions of evil...
Yes, so the fact that there was a small crack in it by the time we were done should be impressive, I guess. In any case, since he did not get a unanimous verdict, he left. And the card is still on the floor and undamaged, despite all the damage it caused. The Archbishop probably noticed that we weren't all standing in the same position as when he started talking. He repeated his question, what have you... Sorry, exact question. Where did you get that? To Yuki, of course. Now, before anyone could say anything, she told him she got it from Lucifer outside Agrabah Nights, and something to the effect of, I picked it up because I thought it would be a bad thing to leave lying around, might have said something to the effect of it might be useful, etc. And he, oddly enough, he did not get angry. He got very sad. And then he started charging some effect over his head. Very complicated, very dangerous looking. Looked almost like a bomb, but that was just my opinion.
Huh.
And several people intervened and tried to interfere. I was under the impression that that angel thing that stopped the Archangel would probably interfere again. I did not know what you just told me about it being heaven's mandate not to interfere. So he probably would have succeeded at whatever he did, but I chipped in that it probably wouldn't work. The Archangel stopped it, yada yada. He stopped, dismissed the effect, and basically told us all to leave. And then he and the rabbi just sank down and started praying. They looked rather broken.
You'll see D'Onofrio's hand quiver as she shatters the glass in the hand.
Not hiding behind the chair, but it looks mighty tempting.
Under no circumstances are you to speak to, acknowledge the... If you see this Yuki girl again, don't breathe the same air.
I had a
A
feeling
man's a
that might.
stud.
Yeah, he just nods. He's not even going to say anything else. He just nods because he gets the feeling she's hit her limit.
Fuck. Right, fuck this. I have to go. I have to go and bring this. I have to go and. Oh, fuck. I'm going to have to go and ask for a gathering of the Primus.
What are the Primus?
The head of the houses.
Holy shit. Aren't those... Wait, aren't some of them in town right now?
Two of them are. That's why I'm going to go to Primus Thoth and ask him to summon a meeting.
Oh boy. Well, the reports are there. I will just go back to my studies then.
You've done well, apprentice.
All I did was write down what was happening. But thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, I'll make sure to look
the
up.
choristers. Wait, so the bishop knows about Yuki.
Oh yes, yes. He knew about the He must have gotten the gist from what I said the previous night about Faust and her. It was jumbled, but I'm sure he got the gist, and or inferred it from what he saw. And she did tell him directly that, she had a conversation with Lucifer and took his calling card, whatever the reasons. For the record, she did mention that apparently whatever convinced her to do this deal with Faust in the first place was apparently to try and save the city at the time, but I heard no other details. But I'm not saying that's a mitigating factor, just she wasn't going at it from, I wish power, immortality, youth, etc. Still a dumb thing to do. Like, understatement.
Right, cool.
All right.
I'm going to go and I'm going to assemble this meeting.
All right, I'll go research Enochian, and how about I go research Azadrel? That sounds like a good idea.
Okay, no, you're going to go to a very specific place in order to do that research, but I'll talk to you more about it later.
All right.
Have you been to Egypt?
No, but sounds like a nice place to go.
Wonderful. All right. She will put on the jacket of her uniform over her shoulders as she walks out the door, and she'll say, "Fuck. Right. I'm far too sober for this."
After having drained an entire bottle of... Oh boy.
Right.
Good place to end the scene?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching, etc.